How do you give feedback on something you haven't directly observed? Well, ideally, you wouldn't. If somebody shares feedback with you, I'd start by being curious about whether they've attempted to give the feedback themselves or whether they're actually willing to have a go at doing that. If not, I'd want to know why they're not and perhaps coach them on ways that they could give it directly. It's always best coming from the source. Now, let's face it, that's not always going to be possible. So if it's up to you to give the feedback, it does depend on how the feedback came to you. If it came to you as part of an aggregated 360 process, it's a bit easier because you can talk about themes and you can give a selection of examples that were included in the feedback to give colour and detail to the person receiving the feedback. If an individual came to you kind of out of a feedback cycle to report on something, then I'd do an assessment of that feedback. Ask yourself, is it a one off? Is it material to the person's role? Is it consistent with other feedback that you've heard about them? And frankly, is it helpful to the person? Just because it comes to you doesn't mean you have to share it. So you want to go through a filtering and an analysis process to decide whether or not to share it. If you do share it, be honest. Tell the recipient that it was given to you, that it wasn't something that you've seen, but that it came from a credible source. Acknowledge the awkwardness of the situation and explain why it isn't coming directly so that the recipient can consider how they might create a sense for that person that they're more open to feedback and so that they can get it directly in future. So, what you're trying to do is get them to understand the feedback, but also get them to understand their own behaviour and how that's helping them or not helping them. Good luck.